You are listening to the daily homily for Magdala in the Holy Land.
Jesus was going through a field of grain on the Sabbath, and his disciples were hungry and began to pick the heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "See, your disciples are doing what is unlawful to do on the Sabbath." He said to them, "Have you not read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? How he went into the house of God and ate the bread of offering, which neither he nor his companions, but only the priests could lawfully eat. Or have you not read in the law that on the Sabbath the priests serving in the temple violate the Sabbath and are innocent? I say to you, something greater than the temple is here. If you knew what this meant, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, you would not have condemned these innocent men. For the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
These texts are very beautiful. Humankind has always wanted to be close to God. We're created for him. We're in his image and likeness. When we don't want to be close to God, we're alienated from ourselves. We mightn't realize it. We might be happy to be away from God, but actually it's not a blessing. It's not a blessed condition for us. And how do we get close to God? Well, today we're going to celebrate the Mass, but this Mass didn't start from nothing. This liturgy, this conversation with God that we have in the Mass, that's a conversation because he speaks to us in his words, and we reply in our prayers and responses. But much more than a conversation, it's an embrace. And more than an embrace, we eat his body and blood. He dies for us on the cross, and we are at that mystery. He rises from the dead, and we are there. So we have a union with God that's extraordinary, and it didn't come from nowhere. There's a lot of back history preparing this moment. And even this moment of the Passover institution in the book of Genesis 3,000 years had a lot of prehistory, even pagan prehistory, where Abraham takes a ram and sacrifices instead of Isaac. There's so much theology in that fact, that to make an offering instead of his firstborn. The different cultures were doing this. They were offering their firstborn to the gods. It's a very complex theme. We won't do it all in this few minutes here, considering the readings today. But there's a lot of connectedness in what we're doing, and we need to be aware of this really to understand it well. And that's why children have catechism, and adults that never had good catechism get understanding, and they study and they read and they take classes, and we grow in the faith. And it's a process. And we want to use a drone, you have to get a license. You want to drive a car, you have to get a license. You want to have a dog, you get a license. Everything has a license. You have to learn how to use a new piece of equipment. You take classes, you get upgraded, you get onboarded. We need to get onboarded for our faith. And this moment that we have here in the book of Exodus, chapter 11 and 12, is describing to us how the Jewish people understood the institutionalization of the Passover ceremony, the Passover celebration, which they still do today more than 3,000 years later. And this is actually what was happening with Jesus at the Last Supper. And this is where the Mass is. Take this is my body, this is my bread. Take this bread, this is my body. Take this cup, this is my blood. And this is what we're talking about here at the Passover. It's a whole transformation that has happened. And the Last Supper of Jesus was just a preview, or an anticipation is a better word, of Good Friday, because that's where he gave his body for us. That's where he spilt his blood for us. And then in the resurrection, that whole triumph throughout this process of forgiveness, of death, of resurrection, of reconciliation of mankind with the Father. And that's delivered in this Mass, everywhere. It's not doing it again, it's being present at that original event. That original event is made present to us. We have communion in the blood of Christ. This is what Paul talks about with the Corinthians. And when you take the cup, take it with reverence, because you are drinking either your salvation or your condemnation. It's loaded with meaning, with grace, with commitment, with union with God. And that's why he's also telling these Corinthians that they shouldn't partake of the other sacrifices to the pagan gods, because they're actually nothing, but it would give scandal from the point of view of scandal, because you're responsible for the faith of your brothers and sisters. You can't give them scandal. You have to be respectful. You have to protect the weak. And so we come then with also the culture of the Sabbath, which is the Ten Commandments. Remember to keep holy the Sabbath day, and then the transformation of the Sabbath through the Sunday, which is a difficulty for even some Christians nowadays to understand that connection. Christians didn't throw out the Sabbath, but they got the first day of the week. Jesus rose on the first day of the week. He broke the bread on the first day of the week. Pentecost happened on the first day of the week. And all the time between Easter and Pentecost, Jesus is breaking bread on the first day of the week with his disciples, and they get into that rhythm. And they know that to keep holy the first day of the week is the new creation, because the Sabbath is the celebration of all the creation. The seventh day God rested, and it's all tied together. The way we live is deeply tied together with the way we celebrate the sacraments, the liturgy. And the way we celebrate the sacraments and the liturgy is an expression of God's work with us to save us. And this is core to our true happiness, to our true fulfillment, to the putting back together of our brokenness in our lives, of getting our act together. It's a great word that's used in America very much. I like this expression because we're spread around so many places. To get our act together. We all have challenges with that wish and desire to get our act together. Have you not read in the law that the Sabbath... So then there are liturgy questions here, and Jesus is telling them about the temple, the sacred space. He's telling them about the Sabbath, the day of the Lord. He's telling them about how to live it in a context. And we also have instructions from Jesus that if you have a big dispute with a brother or sister and an ugly situation, you should go and reconcile first before you come to the altar of the Lord, because they go hand in hand. And we have beautiful lights and inspirations in these readings today to nourish our spiritual life, to appreciate the depth of what we're doing, and also the depth of what we're doing when we're just making bread, because that could become the Eucharist. The depth of what we're doing in our relationships, because they're deeply connected with our relationship with God. Our whole life is one. I will take up the cup of salvation and call on the name of the Lord.
Thank you for joining us today. If you want to learn more about Magdala, follow us on YouTube and on Facebook.